Bass guitar impulse responses. Great sounding IRs for rock and metal bass tones. There's not much out there, right? I think it's time to change that. If you're looking for some wonderful sounding bass IRs, this is your video. I have teamed up with two of the biggest names in the rock and roll bass world, Orange Amplifiers and Eminence Digital, to bring you a world-class sounding, production-ready IR pack captured with three wonderful sounding Orange bass cabinets. IRs for all kinds of rock and metal tones, recorded with great sounding microphones in a great sounding room. Sometimes blended with a guitar speaker to take the distortion more smoothly, and we've included a stereo IR of my room for a more natural feel. There's a lot to unpack. In this video, I want to walk you through the different IRs, both on clean and distorted bass tones. It's time to say hello to the Orange Amps Rock and Metal Bass IR Pack from Eminence Digital. Here we go. Before I walk you through all those single IRs, let me tell you something about the IR pack in general. First of all, why Eminence and why Orange? That is a stupid question, of course, because Eminence is, I guess, the #1 rock and roll bass speaker company. It's an industry standard, and you know, pretty much all bass cabs have Eminence speakers, and they're just legendary. And then we have Orange Amplifiers, one of my favorite brands and also one of the big names in bass amplification, rock and roll bass amplification. And they just make some of the most sexy looking and sounding bass amplifiers and cabs out there. So I'm very proud that they have teamed up with me to bring you this wonderful IR pack. For this IR pack, I've used three different Orange cabinets, the 410, the 810, and the 115. If you know how I do IR packs, you know that I'm not going to throw 150 technical sounding IRs at you. I'm going to give you a smaller collection of great sounding production ready IRs. And on those IRs, I very often blend different microphones, blend different cabinets. And if you are interested in the details, click the link below to the product page. It lists all the information about the cabinets used and about the microphones used for each single IR. Like I said, very often it's a combination, it's a blend of several cabs or at least several microphones. And like I mentioned before, sometimes I even added a Eminence DV77 guitar speaker and blended it in. Why? Because bass speakers and bass cabs have a great clean low end, but the cool thing about guitar speakers is that they take distortion so well and so smoothly. So by mixing in, by blending a guitar speaker, a great sounding guitar speaker, you get both a fat low end, but also like a really smooth and nice sounding distortion if you want to get brutal. I've mostly used microphones from Shure, the classics, from Austrian Audio, and from SE Electronics. But there are a lot of different mics involved. You can have a look. But then again, it's only 20 IRs. But I'm pretty sure you will find something that you like, and you're not going to get lost in endless lists. So let's start with a distorted bass tone, and let's start with a song that you just heard. It sounds like this. So I got the DI track here, and it's basically just 4 plugins. It's a compressor, I like taming the dynamics a little bit before I hit the distortion. Then we pre-shape the sound with Waves CLA, one of my favorite plugins. Link to all the plugins below. And then we go into the dark glass pedal, and that's all. And I've turned off the cabinet in here, obviously. Yes, and without the IR, it sounds like this. With an IR. So you see, it's going to round off your bass tone. It's just going to make it sound more produced and more like, yeah, like playing through a real cab and a real amp. And it's going to take away that DI feel. So I'm using a freeware IR player that I can recommend. This one is from STL Tones, and this one is called Nadir or whatever. So here we see the, 21 IRs, and right now I'm playing the hard and painful IR. It's the 4x10 cab, I assume. Sounds like this. And it actually sounds hard and painful, right? So let me show you a few of the IRs. So there are some IRs that are more intended to be like fat and round, and that includes the first one called King of Fat. And this one has a massive low end, like a clean, massive low end. There are a few more IRs like that. For example, Your Darkest Dreams. Let's switch to that one. And others are Balls for Days. Then we have another category with the blended guitar speakers. And that's gonna sound a lot more mid-forward, a lot more dang, 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 dangle, dangle, you know? So let's switch from King of Fat to, for example, this one, Dangle Through Guitars. And there are a few more like that. For example, British Guitar and Bass Blend. Smoother high gain tones. Mid-grind Heaven or Give Me Distortion. And they all take distortion and grind really well, really smoothly, and they all give you like different shades of a mid-forward bass tone. Then we got another category that is less mid-forward and rather scooped. And this is maybe a little more old school. So you have a lot more low end and you have the upper mid clank. And this is more intended for cleaner bass tones where you want the low end and you want the attack of the pick to cut through, and you don't want that typical guitar grind in the mids. You're going to hear that maybe a little better when we switch to the cleaner bass tones. But let's have a listen. Let's go from Dangle Through Guitars to, what do we have? Clankfest Overkill. That's a good one. Can you hear that? So they sound a little hotter. So they take the distortion not that well, and less mids and have more of that higher bite. And not that guitar grind, you know? You get the difference, right? Another one like this might be Hi-Fi Scoop Fest and Hard and Painful. That's another one. But you see, they can also get nasty with highly distorted tones, but they really shine on cleaner tones. On the other hand, who cares? It really makes the bass cut through a mix. And then finally, we got a few more exotic ones. We've got the beautiful sounding, what is this one? Fretless Honky Tonk. get that nasal, fretless kind of honk, honk, honk. We've got a few ones that have some room mics blended, but in mono, like this one. And this just sounds a little more like having the bass in the room. It just sounds a little more natural. If that's what you want, you can try those three that are called Room of Boom something. And then finally, we got something interesting. We also got one stereo IR. It's the last one here, Room of Boom ambience only. And this is important. You don't want to use it in a mono speaker IR player like this. What you got to use is a reverb IR player that can load stereo IRs. And it could be Altiverb or anything else, but I think every DAW comes with something like that. And Cubase here has an inbuilt plugin called Reference, and that I'm using that one here. And I've already loaded, let me show you that. That's the track, the plugin and the IR. And let's just blend it. The idea is that especially if you play bass alone, it can sound a little claustrophobic if it's only closed mic. So if you want to give the bass a little more room, like just a touch of realism, this is really nice. Let me maybe show you just the reverb first. So this is a pair of room mics, stereo room mics, way up high in my live room. I think it's a pair of SE Electronic ribbons, and you can just blend that in to make it a little more natural. So let's bring back the direct track down here. But it's also great for productions. Just a touch of this will make your bass sound more natural. Nice, don't you think? All right, so you see, you got a lot of tonal options, from rather fat and dark to something more mid-forward with a blended guitar speaker to something more scooped with low end and a lot of attack and bite in the upper mids. And then 2 or 3 more exotic IRs and a stereo reverb. Isn't that cool? Okay, so now let's switch to some cleaner bass tones and let me show you the IRs one more time. All right, we got 2 bass tracks here. The first one is again going through the CLA plugin, but now we are hitting Amplitude 5 with a nice Trace Elliott amplifier, but no cabinet. And it sounds like this. So let's add a cab, an IR. Now you understand why you want to use IRs, right? It just sounds a little too nasty without. Let's see what we got. Dangle through guitars. Start with the guitar IRs. Let's switch to the fat sounding IRs. Those two have a dangerous low end. Your Darkest Dreams and King of Fat. The idea was that you don't need to blend another clean DI track to get a solid low end with those IRs. But let's try the more scoop ones with the high-end bite, because I think they're a good fit for a tone like this, for an amp like this. Let's go to Clankfest Overkill. And now you can really hear the attack of the pick. And that's just very different from the mid grind of this one. It's because this sounds a little more like a guitar. Some bass players love that. And this just sounds more like a classic aggressive bass tone. was the other one? Hard and Painful. Nice Heart Attack. Oh, and this one, Hi-Fi Scoop Fest. Almost no mids anymore, just the upper mid bite and the low end. The opposite of this. Okay, but you got all the options. Fretless. Wow. Let's try another amp. Here's another cool one, and that is Bass Knob from Bogren. With the inbuilt cab, it sounds like this. Which is cool, but this IR pack just gives you a few more options. Let's just try this one. So if you are using the very nice sounding Bogren Digital one knob plugin and you want to make it a little more versatile, get the IR pack. It's a good match. But let's try the ambience one more time on this one, on the Bogren. So let me add the ambience. I've just loaded it into Reverence. That's a room only. So you can just blend it in super subtle, but it's just gonna make things sound more natural. Let's try it on another IR. Maybe a more clanky one. Interesting reverb. You can also use it for your other bass tracks because it basically sends your bass tone through an orange cab, or I think through two orange cabs, into the room. So you get both the response of an orange cab in the room and you get the response of my room. Isn't that nice? Okay, beautiful. I hope I could convince you to make me rich and famous and purchase this wonderful sounding bass guitar IR pack. No, I think it's gonna help your productions, and it's gonna help you to find the right bass tone, hopefully, in a quick and easy way, don't you think? Right. One thing I gotta say though is one thing that is weird. I know a lot of you guys are using the Parallax plugin from Neural DSP, and for some reason, I don't know why, if you load external IRs into that plugin, the whole sound changes. There's something weird there. So if you don't use the internal IRs, everything changes. Maybe I just misunderstood something. You can use it with all the other Neural DSP plugins. It sounds great, like I just did with the Dark Glass plugin. So that's a little weird. Just as a little disclaimer, I want you to be happy, all right? Okay. Time to enjoy the most beautiful and dirty and nasty and whatever sounding bass IR pack this world has to offer. There's a link below. Check it out and create some awesome sounding bass tones. Let me know which one is your favorite. Leave a comment. Yeah, that's all for today. Thanks to Orange Amps and to Eminence Digital for doing this with me. I hope you will have fun with this IR pack and yeah, let me know. Don't forget to subscribe, ring the bell, the usual blah, blah, blah. That's all for today. I see you in hell, motherfuckers. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.